Welcome, welcome, welcome to the online version of Caribbean Focus. This recording is aired online again because of the pandemic. We are forced and really a blessing in disguise to be recording Caribbean Focus and having our interviews aired and also continuing to have our listening audience tune in. So welcome to Caribbean Focus. I am your host, Hermina Marcellin. We are having a conversation and actually continuing a conversation with Mr. Rey Allen. He is the program director of Theater International Inc. And our last interview actually was recently on Bronxnet TV, but even uh, recent as 2015 when we were able to go into the studio. So I wanted to I extend my thanks to you for joining me on Caribbean Focused. How are you doing?
Hi, Hermina. It's good to be on Caribbean Focus with you once again. But the last time I was on Caribbean Focus was not in the studio, but on online with Dr. Stewart and I. We at that time we were planning to have a summit at Medgar Evers for October, but due to COVID-19, that was postponed. Yes.
And
So
yes, yes, definitely understood. And so here we are
once again,
once again. Um, and during our last, and I'm not referring to Bronxnet TV, which we will get into very shortly, but during our interview at Medgar Evers College, where you were discussing your role as the program director of Theater International Inc. Please tell me, anything has changed, any new projects that you're undertaking. Tell us more about your stance.
well, with Theater International Inc., I'm actually uh, executive artistic director of Theater International Inc., as well as producer. Um, I We are at the present moment at a standstill due to COVID-19, unfortunately. So we are not producing anything at the moment, uh, like all the other theaters actually, both off Broadway as well as Broadway, had to close down. I was lucky enough to have a production with young people uh, back in February, the the late February. We did a musical production of In the Heights, um, and it was interesting. Interestingly enough, we were planning to do it for the spring, but my musical director said, "Hey, let's make it happen once and for all." So we did an African American History Month celebration, and a week later, we did this musical production, which was very, very good. And it was a good thing that it was he that came up with the idea in terms of doing it so soon. It was a good thing that we did because or else we'd have been shut down with that as well. But I've been writing and preparing. I have quite a few things on the agenda with Theatre International. Also, some other things that is happening in terms of preparing for June, from the 27th, I'm sorry, from the 23rd to the 27th of June in Costa Rica. Is celebrating is celebrating Marcus Garvey arrival to Costa Rica in Central America, and that is going to be a big celebration throughout Costa Rica. But the host city in Costa Rica is Limon, which is primarily uh, black, um, of the Caribbean, people of the Caribbean, in Limon. So I've been asked to be the arts and cultural coordinator for the festival. So we're looking forward to that. That's going to be a major thing. Then in October, the dates have not been set as yet, but it's going to be sometime in October. We're going to have it's a 3-day trade and cultural arts expo in Florida, and Sister Cities International is producing that festival. Again, I've been asked to be the arts and cultural coordinator for that expo as well. So we will open and close the expo, the 3-day expo, with productions, with shows, dance performances from around the world, um, uh, singers, some dramatic pieces, everything is going to be in there, even a marching band. Yeah, so we're looking forward to all that.
Okay, and recently, going back to our recent encounters, tables, they now have turned, and I was one of your guests on your radio program. Could you tell us a little bit about the program being aired on Bronxnet TV, and how is that transition? Is that always been the way that you conduct these interviews online, or does the pandemic somewhat cause some changes with how you air?
Well, Hermina, things have drastically turned since the pandemic. Um, I've never did anything online with World's Indigenous Peoples TV show until the pandemic happened. It was always at the studio, at Bronxnet Studio, in which we would tape the shows and then aired. World's Indigenous People continue to be aired on Saturdays at 10 p.m. Uh, on Bronxnet channel 35 and 69. And those who cannot pick up uh, files 35 or optimum 69, those who are not able to pick those up, you can go online to Bronxnet TV, and it will say share, catch, sorry, catch. You click catch, and then you will click either 35, channel 35, or 69, and you can see it live, World's Indigenous People, or you can go on and look for World's Indigenous Peoples live, and come right in at 10 o'clock every Saturday. It's a half an hour from 10 to 10:30.
And World Indigenous People, could you further elaborate on that title and why that title?
Very good question. World's Indigenous People came to me in terms of starting the show. This was back in the 90s, when I was a part of the NGO of the Indigenous Peoples at the United Nations. and this go back to 1993, where we had the United Nations had declared a year for indigenous peoples of the world. Um, I was on that committee, and at the end of by November of '93, we said, wait a minute, there is so much work to be done that is impossible to do to make a crack at this in 1 year. So uh, the United Nations then declared a decade for people of indigenous peoples of the world, um, and that so for that decade, I was the first uh, vice chair of the committee, of the NGO committee, in which I served vice chair under the chairmanship of the late Esmeralda Brown, who passed away last year. She was the chair of that. And we did so much in terms of bringing together indigenous peoples of the Americas and around the world, and dealing with the plight of the indigenous peoples. We also highlighted the arts and cultural aspects of the indigenous peoples around the world. Um, During that time, it was 1996 when I actually started World's Indigenous Peoples, and I became the first. We became the first ones to win a Beta Award as Best Educational Programming for Bronxnet. Uh, and we ran that for about 10 years, and then I took the show off until the death of Esmeralda Brown, which was in September of 28th of 2019. Thereafter, I said, in tribute to her, I would like to bring World's Indigenous Peoples back.
Okay.
So it was actually this month, October, made a year since World's Indigenous People have returned to airing. And so started from the time we shut down in March. During the month of March, I was doing reruns. And then we began to do uh, some taping straight from my home. And there where I'm still taping directly from my home. So actually, when I interviewed you, it was directly from my home. I'm at my home and you're at your home. So up to yesterday, I did a tape, which will be aired on the 7th, November 7th and the 14th, of Harriet Tubman Charter School, which I interviewed the principal of Harriet Tubman, the director of the elementary the academy, as well as the director of the junior academy, the chairperson of the board, and the secretary of the board. We had a
You
wonderful show.
That's excellent. I had a wonderful experience as well, being on your platform. You mentioned that.
When we did that, Hermina, we was trying to still figure out you know, iron out those those glitches and recording from home.
Yes.
So we had some problems there with that, but we got it all ironed out now. So when you see the show on the 7th and the 14th, it was remarkable. We just went through that half an hour nonstop.
Right.
Yes.
Excellent. You mentioned that, you're home, I'm home, we're home. We are in a pandemic. And how do you see the future? I mean, you are into theater, you're into arts, and now doing the World Indigenous People broadcasting program. What are your prospects now that we are home and looking at the future of the arts?
It's a very good question, Hermina. Um, you know, the arts as well as people globally as a whole will never be the same. Will never be the same. We have transformed into a time of technology that becomes very, very essential to us, regardless of where we are in the world. We begin to communicate much more in technology than we ever did. In the last months, we everyone have been affected and was pushed to actually utilize uh, this platform of technology. The schools, for example, never before, yes, in terms of some universities know that have had online classes and what have you, but never before have we had high schools, middle schools, elementary schools, everyone using online to communicate, for teaching, for everything in which you're doing. The churches online, all the major meetings, board meetings, and all that. Everyone doing online. You know, Zoom. I haven't heard of Zoom until the epidemic started. You know, and I am one that is not a very technology savvy. I'm an artist. Okay. Someone I let someone else do the technology stuff, you know, but I've been forced into learning some technology. And every host, whether it is on ABC, CBS, any of our major networks, what have you, they all spoke about being pushed into this situation where in which they have to now learn how to operate a camera and do certain things, set the mic levels and all that kind of stuff, and broadcasting from home.
You mentioned that, you're an artist. You draw that distinction.
Oh yes,
And how do you see this implementation of technology with artistry? And do you think it's possible?
very possible, very possible. In spite of the fact that I have sort of shied away from uh, motion pictures and doing a lot of television other than my regular television interviewing and what have you, but doing a lot of uh, um, major television shows and movies and all that, because I've always liked the live stage productions. That what I was trained in at an early age. I was blessed enough to be the first student of the double image theater that used to be very close, right in the back of Lincoln Center here in New York City, in Manhattan. Um, I was the first student given the opportunity to direct and produce a major production there, uh, back many moons ago, and I was the first African American to direct at the double image theater, which made me, at the time when I did, I was the youngest African American director producer for stage in the tri-state area, which is New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. And I held that position for 5 years and directed, and I continued direct after that production of Blues for Mr. Charlie by James Baldwin. I continued directing shows, show after show, show after show. So I held that for 5 years. And I always loved the stage. It's nothing like the stage. That is the laboratory for any artist, you know. So when you go into television and film and what have you, uh, it's not quite the same.
Mm.
It's not quite the same, but a matter of fact, you're giving less outer action. The same inner action, but outer action is less, you know. But the great actors come from the stage. That's why you see the Denzel Washingtons and all the those great actors, they always come back to the stage. You know, you come back to the laboratory to train, you know. So in answer to your question, yes, but I see some very good things that can come out, will come out of this epidemic, in spite of how disastrous it is, in terms of being able to take more stage productions to television. And this is one of the things in which I would like to do, in terms of, yes, continue the work in which we've been doing on stage, but giving it a life, the play a life after that stage production. Whether you normally off Broadway, which we do, we run the production for 12 performances. Okay, so during that 12 performance bit, we can tape the show and put it on television, to give it a life after that 12 performances or more.
Well, Ray Allen, our listening audience, our viewing audience, look forward to hearing more about, these bright ideas and how we move along and somewhat be a part of this change, right? And
Most
we
definitely.
and we do not have a choice to somewhat immerse ourselves.
And I also like to add, this is Caribbean focus. So it has connected us. Another great thing that came out of this is that it have connected us more with our Caribbean, with the Caribbean itself, in
Yes.
terms of, we are home away from home,
Yes.
and I am able to be more connected with the Caribbean islands through this online processes, because what's going on down there, we're able to see at the same time they are it's happening. For example,
And
for
uh,
example, on the island of Anguilla, little tiny island, is COVID free, and people are able, people are walking around doing their thing as normal, going to church. The church is crowded, weddings, uh, uh, parties, what have you. They have It's just as normal as before COVID-19. Okay, that's still happening there because they're COVID free. The only thing is the borders are closed. uh, uh, for for emergency, have to come into the island, charter flights, you have to go into quarantine for 14 days before they let you out. Okay, but I'm able to see what's going on down there, be a part of everything that's going there. Everything is online, so it's just as they're seeing it, we are seeing it as well.
and as you mentioned, it's a home away from home. However, we're coming back to the laboratory. We're staying in connection, and it's a phenomenon within itself. It's a critical lens within itself, to delve into how we navigate through these times and navigate through this way of this new normal and this way of communicating, being nowhere but everywhere at the same time.
Absolutely.
So I thank you so much for your feedback. Thank you for sharing some of your thoughts with us. I look forward to having you back again on the program as we again pick your brain and find out more about your involvement in the Caribbean diaspora. Mr.
Thank
Rey
you.
Allen, I would like to thank you, and thank you for my listening and watching audience joining me on Caribbean Focus, and see you next time. I am your host, Hermina Marcellin. Thank you. Have a great day.